What's that? Sure, you can grab a seat just for a minute. I'll call you in by name. Just make sure we got everybody in the room.
Stanford.
Okay, we'll start off. Why don't we first call in the coaches? We've got head coach Chris Black, assistant coaches Rachel Black, and Ralph Rosenkrantz. You want to come on up here and join me? Gentlemen, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Very much.
All right, congratulations. A couple of little guys here. Now, question is, I don't know if, do we have these for coaches as well, do we know? Or coaches and players, do we know? Okay, we don't. All right, we'll start with the players, and if it works out, great. All right, so we'll call the names here. First, we've got Corey Buccioni. Actually, I'll let you call it, Janine. Let's call the names. Okay, first one, our team captains, Corey Buccioni.
Top after the bottom.
Step right up. Congratulations.
Thank you.
There you go. If you want to line up, we'll just line this up, maybe start right here. Okay.
Other team captain, Ashley Dockrow.
The coaches, congratulations. There you go. You're welcome.
Natalie Johns.
Congratulations. Congratulations, now. There you go.
Casey Nichols.
Where's your uniform, Case? Congratulations. There you go.
Good center.
Ashley DeRue.
Congratulations. There you go. Okay.
Chelsea O'Donoghue.
Oh, giggly. Why are you all giggly? Congratulations.
Kara Rosencrantz.
People go tangents Congratulations. Okay.
And Courtney Sapp.
Congratulations.
This team here, I started coaching this year. We won, there's all kinds of divisions in OVAs from 1 to like 9 or 10 or whatever. We won Division 1 this year. That means this group here is the best team at the juvenile age group in Ontario. It's rare that a Red Raiders team or any team in this region will win this. We're only the third team in Red Raiders history to win this title. So it's a great weekend we had. We had a great year, and thanks a lot, girls. Okay.
Thanks. Now, question, coaches, congratulations on behalf of all of council, and I hope you'll just stick around because I believe we have them for everybody. So I'm just hoping maybe if you could just give us a quick count, maybe tweak on the list. It's in the book, in the agenda. A couple questions now. Can anybody dunk here? Anyone dunk? You have to jump to do it? Next question. Can you guys touch the rim? Touch the rim? We just put a basketball net in our house. My kids play Red Raiders basketball too, so I want to just find out where we're at. So I don't feel so bad. They can't touch it either. That's great. Well, on behalf of if there's any other comments by members of council for the team?
Congratulations.
Congratulations on behalf of all of us at council. We're very proud of you. We know you had another event where you were getting awards, and Councilor Peter Angelo suggested that it'd be more fitting to bring everybody in, so we decided rather than do this at your other event, we do something special on Cogeco. We can recognize you in front of the whole city and all of council. So congratulations from us. Wish you well into your future. Look forward to seeing you back here again next year.
Thanks, Coach.
You want to do a picture? Hey guys, here, we'll do a quick picture. Let's just kind of get around. We'll tweet it out, guys. We'll tweet it out. I won't block anybody. We'll do it in the back or the front. Good? Okay, great. Thanks, girls. Thank you. Help me count this. With coaches. What's that? With coaches. With coaches? Okay, next if we could have the novice boys basketball team come in. Someone could call the novice boys basketball team. Plus we just did the things here. Okay, good, so the coaches, they've got three boys. We're gonna, is there more we can do? There's only two. That's it? Is that everybody else already?
Yeah.
Soccer, baseball. Holy smokes. Yeah, and the coaches aren't here either tonight? Okay, so Rick, did you want to come up and do the,
No, that's okay, they did.
you sure? Okay, well, I thought I just wanted to be good to the group. Expectations so low, boys. Well, come on in here, guys. Stand up here, making further awards here, so look this way. There's that camera. See the red light on top? Yep. See how you know. Yeah, don't be shy. What are your names? See, you go through the whole list.
I'm Cole Holder and Jesse Murphy.
All right, we've got Cole Holder and Jesse Murphy. They're part of the Niagara Red Raiders Novice Boys Basketball Team, Division 6 Provincial Champions. I want a big hand for these guys. And gentlemen, on behalf of all the members of City Council here, and everybody at home watching you, your mom, your dad, your families, and everybody else, there's a little bit of an award that's got the city's crest on the front of it, showing that you guys are champions, and we hope that we're going to see you back here in the near future as your champions again. Thanks very much. All right, nice to meet you, fellas. Okay, have a good night. Thank you. Okay, next up, we've got Niagara Falls Red Raiders Major Adam Girls Under 12 basketball team. Oh, yeah. Good. Good. What happened to this guy?
The kid's tripping. Yeah, the kid's tripping.
He's trying to dump.
Congratulations. All right, nice. Listen, here's your, here's a list of your team. So do you want to call, are you players here?
No, unfortunately, all other commitments.
You gotta be kidding. Okay. All right.
Your kids abandon you guys.
Yes.
Well, guys, maybe if you wouldn't mind, just for everybody at home watching on camera and fellow members of council, maybe tell your story of your team, and we'll give you some of these awards, and then you can take the rest for your players.
And I'm the coach. My name is Johnny Mavelli. To my right is Todd Bright, and to my left is Joe Pagnata. Our girls are Major Adam girls. A lot of the girls that played in our organization came out of a house league. They never played travel ball before. We've taken 12 girls and transformed into a Division 5 gold medal team. They've come a long way, and it wasn't for my coaching staff, they would be where we are today. So this was an amazing job, and we as coaches are very proud of the accomplishment.
Congratulations. On behalf of the members of City Council and all the residents of Niagara Falls, we're very proud of all of our Red Raiders teams. You've been very successful spreading the name of Niagara Falls around the community, around the province. And we're hoping that you'll be able to take some of these awards back and you make sure that we'll get them out to the rest of the kids. We will. Okay, that's great. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, congratulations. Okay, we'll see you, folks. All right, maybe next we can have someone call in the under 14 boys, Major Bantam. What's After these guys is the Major Adam Boys basketball team. Is your coach here, guys? Yeah. Need your coach to come up here. We'll get Nicole to introduce each one of you. Come on up, coach. These are Major Bantam. Major Bantam, yeah. guys who the next team is after that. Yeah, come on up. How are you? Very good, thank you. Good, congratulations. Thank you very much. Well, I've got a list of your team here. Congratulations. Thanks. If you want to announce the boys out of here, we'll bring them up. We'll give them each an award. Okay. JP Oliver. Congratulations, JP. There you go. That's my story here. Ryan Bashford, I don't believe Ryan's here tonight. Graduating? Keyshawn Carson's not here either. I think he's graduating. Elijah, same thing. Brady, same thing. Eric McLean, you're here. I saw you. Congratulations. Congratulations, Eric. Hi, buddy. There you go. Teddy Drew. You didn't have those questions. Congratulations, buddy. Congratulations. Just have to take this. Joshie Patterson. Congratulations. She's coached this other. We'll see you too. Congratulations. Heck, Plasma. Jordan Terry was not here. Alexander Weber. Last but not least, Alex. Congratulations. I'd like me to give a little spiel. First thing I want to say, I said this earlier in a previous meeting, I'm really proud of these guys. They got into the program for 2 years. Everybody played, everybody contributed. We didn't shorten our bench in 2 years. Everybody got to play. And when it came down to crunch day, the boys stepped up to the plate. I was just explaining our strength was in zone defense and zone presses, and the team that we played in the finals actually beat us in full play. They beat our presses, they did it all, and my other assistant coach is not here, Jim Conti. We had a discussion and said, we're going to make them play man-to-man. They started the game off 12-0 and never looked back. That's why I'm proud of these guys. Not because we won, because your Achilles heel was the man-to-man who stuck it out, and that's why I'm proud of you. Congratulations, boys. Hey, you want to come take a picture too? Do you want to take a picture for the team? Or? Yeah, come on up. We're taking a picture, guys. Come on up. Everybody brings their phones now, right? Easier. Come on, guys, gather around. Come on over here so we'll get how did you guys? 114, I can't even see what I'm talking Thank you. Okay, guys, congratulations. Thank you very much. Just give us a call. Thank you. We've got 2 more teams to recognize. Trophy for you. There you go. Basement 4. All right, next up is the Major Adam Boys basketball team. We bring the Major Adam Boys basketball team. We'll get the coach up here first, guys. You guys wait there, we'll get your coach up. How are you? So good, real good, thanks. So I know this is your team, but if you want to call up your boys, I'll give you a list. For what she can have. That's good. Congratulations, Nasser. We go some first. Jet Nasser. That's right, please. Ready for Baldwin? Time to start.
Ben Simmons. And Gary Fay. See the center?
See the center? Yeah.
This is our second year together, and it's the second year we've medaled at OBAs. A lot of gold medal last year, gold medal this year. The boys have really improved over the last couple of years, and our future is very bright with these young boys.
Good job, guys. And you know what's difficult? It's summer, all the kids, all the sports have started up.
Soccer.
Yes, soccer. It's the last week of school. It's a little bit crazy. So make sure we're going to get all the extra trophies for the rest of your teammates. We'll get your coaches. So we're going to have a big pool party.
We already had the party.
Oh, we had the party. Okay. Coach will make sure you all get your awards, but we just want to make sure you got recognized in front of everybody at home. I'm Coach Nicole and all the city council here. We're all really proud of you. And I'm sure we'll be seeing you guys back here again as champions again. All right, thanks, Coach. Thanks very much. Okay, all right, so, oh, you got a picture up here? I was going to do a picture. Phone in the back. He's 12.
I'm thinking he's a center.
Good boy. Thanks, guys. Take care. Okay, thank you. And the last one we got is the Adam Boys basketball. Division 4. That's a little Coach's hand in mine. Okay. We got Richard Warner. Congratulations, Thomas. You want my coach right here? Aaron Weaver. Richard, congratulations. Got Junior. Rossellari. And Gal Haddock. Joel Schmall. Victor Kariuki. Michael Mitchell. Jacob Bray. You're the best. Congratulations. Last year, we were unfortunate to lose a gold medal game, and we ended up getting a silver medal. Going into this season, these boys were pretty determined that this year we were going to let the same thing happen. So we went through the whole season. Actually, we won 3 tournaments and got 4th in 2 of the tournaments. And we went to the OBAs, and we actually went 5-0. We didn't lose a game while we were there. And we actually, we ended up beating St. Catharines actually in the final, which was a team we only had beaten once in the last 2 years. So it was a big accomplishment for us. And the hard work that these kids had put in, and the determination that they showed all year was just unbelievable. What was the secret to beating St. Catharines? What was the secret? Good deed, play hard. The coach giving you some good advice out there too? Was he cracking the whip a little bit once in a while? Yeah. Maybe you do push-ups on stones with your knuckles and that kind of stuff? Well, and also, we also have a little trophy for your coach too, Ezio. And we want to thank all of you guys. We're really proud of you. That's why we wanted to make sure we brought you here in front of all the city council. It was the city council that ordered all these awards for you to make sure we had something to keep. But we're very proud of your provincial champs. When you wear the name Red Raiders Niagara Falls like you do, you're promoting our city. And it's good when you're champions, but not just champions, but good champions. So you set a good example, you play clean, you play hard, and you make us all proud. So on behalf of the council and all the city and all the people at home that are watching you, we want to say congratulations and we look forward to having you guys back here again. Big hand, and we're going to do it. Don't be shy. Show you guys in front, show you guys in back. There you go. What's that? This one in the back. A couple of them are in the front. This way. The camera's over here, guys, so it's in this one. Yeah, still wouldn't be the tall one in that too. Well, hold up. Just stand here, Richard. There you go. Paparazzi for you guys. Congratulations, guys. And Rick, who's not here for What's that? President. And also here's the man, legendary basketball player, Rick Rampado. This guy's been with this program forever, and his daughters do an outstanding job coaching as well. It's a whole family affair, actually, for the Rampados. And Rick's done a great job making sure basketball is alive and well in the city, along with a lot of other great volunteers, a lot of great players. They've developed so many great players in Niagara Falls. And we want to be thankful for such a great job. And we're just going to ask Rick tonight two things. Number one, we'll maybe say a couple of words. We've got a little word for you too, Rick, because of the great job that you've done. And we know you're a volunteer. You do this because you like to do it, because you love the sport and love the kids. So maybe you can share with us a little bit.
This year was probably our most successful year of the organization. These are just the gold medal teams, and we've had 60% of our travel teams medal this year, so in Ontario. Our program for the small cities is probably the most successful program in Ontario for the size of our city. So we're very proud of that, and we try to promote basketball from the little kids, from the novice to the beginner program, the gym's kids are involved with, to a travel program. The travel program we get recognized, but it's actually the house leagues and novice players and volunteers like that really help out to who's the travel players. So I'd like to thank everybody, all our volunteers. I'd like to thank council for recognizing us this evening, and you, Jimmy, thank you very much. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, you know what? We'll offer something more. Yes. We got these. Rick's going to take. We want to get Rick these others. Yeah, we can do one together. Let's do it tonight. That way, it's the very first team. I think they except coaches. Nice job. Thank you. What we'll do is we'll bring this up to this thing. I don't need to get started. Like I say, you put it in your pocket, in the box.
you very much. Appreciate your patience, and Councilor Pietrangelo suggested before, that we wanted to make sure we recognize them properly. We do a lot of them, but fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of them couldn't be here tonight, so it's not too bad. Next up, we're dealing with planning matter, PD 2011-39. And I now ask the clerk to introduce the next item on the agenda.
Your Worship, this is actually a continuation of the public meeting that first was held on May 16th, and this public meeting is being convened to consider city-initiated amendments to the official plan to bring the plan into conformity with the provincial growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe and the Niagara Region's Growth Strategy Niagara 2031. The recent notice for the resumption of the public meeting took place through an ad in the Niagara Falls Review on May 27th, 2011, and people who had already signed the sign-in sheets were given personal notice of this as well. Anyone who wants notice of the passage of the official plan amendment shall leave their name on the sign-in sheets outside the council chamber.
All right, thank you. I'll ask, we're not quite ready yet, though, so I'm going to ask the planning director, Alex, to explain the purpose and the reason for the proposed amendment to the official plan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The application is, as the clerk has outlined, we have a responsibility as a municipality to bring our official plan into conformity with the Provincial Places to Grow Act.
Excuse me, Mr. Willowich, can you slow down one half a second? I received notification, Councilor Gates, would you just pull your start, Alex, if you don't mind, please?
Thanks very much, Mayor Diodati. I'd like to move a deferral until we deal with the Optimus Park. Also, the Chamber of Commerce letter, extension of North Street over the QEW. There's no hurry to get this report to the Regent. In checking with Welland and St. Catharines, they sent theirs to the Regent just over a year ago. And as you know, Jim, you sit there, it still hasn't come to the Regent, so there is absolutely no reason to push this ahead. And I think with the importance of the Optimus Park and that particular area, I would like to see it deferred so that I think in 2 weeks' time is our next meeting, maybe 2.5 weeks, whatever it is, for the 3 weeks, then the Optimus Park will be on the agenda as well.
So we'll ask the clerk to comment, and let's get to the second.
Through your worship, the Optimist Club's on the July 18th meeting. Obviously, the first opportunity for this one to come back would be at one of the 2 August meetings, because just as we did in this case, we would give notice again.
He's absolutely right, but we'd be able to hear the concerns with the residents around the Optimus area on going forward and what's contained in this document. And then obviously we could then vote on this in August. I think for respect for the residents of Niagara Falls in that area, I think that's a better plan. And like I said, at the Regent, there's no rush to get it there because they're not hearing these things anyways. So,
okay, and the reason we're entertaining this is before Mr. Willowich goes through his whole presentation, it's going to be deferred. No sense going through it. So we have a motion from Councilor Gates to defer OP 94. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councilor Thompson.
I'd like to hear Mr. Hrunovich's reaction to it, to that suggestion of deferral. We're going to hear the Optimus Park proposal anyway. How would this impact on what we're doing tonight? Maybe Mr. Hrunovich can tell us.
Okay, Mr. Hrunovich.
Yes, Your Worship. I think what Councilor Gates is referring to is there's a schedule in the official plan amendment 94, which identifies the area around Morrison and Dorchester as a growth node, an intensification node. And that's an overlay designation. So the lands are actually remaining exactly the same designation that they are today, which for Optimus Park is open space. But the overlay designation would allow those lands to redevelop for residential purposes if the Optimus Club application in the future was to be approved by this council. So that is, as the city clerk referred to, on July the 18th. If the lands are redesignated to residential, they could develop for residential purposes up to the extent as identified in this amendment, which is 94. So I'm not sure that one is dependent on the other, but I appreciate what the councilor is saying. The other thing is, excuse me, is that many of the other area municipalities have their amendments into Region 4 approval that were due last year. Regional staff is busy, and so basically, it's as the councillor says, regional staff don't get to our amendment until next year in terms of an approval. But we do have an obligation to eventually get our plan there.
So, Mr. Otis, the proposal coming forward July the 18th for the Optimist, does this have to happen before that can happen, or does the order matter?
I don't think the order matters.
Okay. Councilor Pietrangelo.
Your Worship, I just wanted to understand the nature of the motion for deferral. Would it be to perhaps take the Optimist lands out of OPA 94, much like we did with the Paletta lands? And, I mean, if so, would that still, or would that inhibit any type of rezoning going forward?
The application on the Optimist lands that Council will hear next month is basically to redesignate the lands from open space to residential in the official plan, and to rezone those lands in the zoning bylaw from open space to residential. So Council will make a decision on the actual land use. What this policy does is sets the density that might be achieved. So the lands, if they're approved for residential development, could develop to the density that's in this document, but this document would have no effect if the lands are not residential.
Just to follow up, I guess my question was more, like the Paletta lands are zoned industrial, and by taking it out of OPA 94, this council said that we wanted to remain as industrial. Now, the Optimist lands are zoned open space.
Correct.
If we were to remove it from OPA 94, are we designating that it remains open space? I think that's more my question. What type of effect would it have on the Optimist lands if we took it out of OPA 94?
Yeah. OPA 94 leaves them as open space. So there's no effective change by 94.
But I thought you said that OPA 94 describes certain densities that can be achieved on those lands.
Yes, if they're residential. So depending on what council does next month when the Optimist application comes forward, will depend on whether or not that density complies with this document.
So perhaps then, just to focus on the Optimist lands, what would be the change in prescribed densities from what is permitted now as to what is permitted in OPA 94? That'd be helpful.
Well, currently there would not be any rules. When the Optimist application comes forward in July, the density will be whatever they have applied for, and council will determine whether that's appropriate or not appropriate based on the staff report, the input from agencies, and the input from the public. We don't have any guidance. So it'll be what it is, I guess. You'll determine whether the number of residential units proposed for Optimist Park are appropriate or not. Although I'm not sure that that's the actual debate. I believe Councillor Gates was referring to whether Morrison Street should extend over the highway. He referred to the Chamber of Commerce letter. That's what the Chamber of Commerce letter was about. But there wasn't actually taking issue with the density, which is what 94 does.
Just to Councilor Thompson. That was just one of the issues that was, I believe, all the councils will receive from the chamber on that issue. My issue is that I would like to hear how we're going to lose probably one of the most important parks in Niagara Falls that has a long, long history in Optimist Park to commercial and to residential. I think my point is that I would like to hear that debate in a couple weeks. My position is that we should do everything we can to leave it as Optimist Park. I mean, Canada Day is coming up this week, and we're all going to be there. So that's kind of where the issue was. But I'd like to hear the presentations, not only from the resident, but also from the developer. I know that some of the councillors have met with River Realty. I have not. I do not know what they have proposed for that land. So I'd like to have the opportunity to hear that. Failing that, I'd want to take that very similar to Plata right out of this document, that area.
Okay, we've got Councillor Thompson. Well, my question is regarding the letter that we received from the solicitors for Paletta. Basically, first of all, it'd be helpful sometimes if we knew this information in advance. I guess they have appealed that to the OMB. I suspected they may be coming back with an altered application, but obviously they feel strength in their application, and that's going to be a very difficult fight for the municipality to deal with that. And I'm wondering if through you to the solicitor, where it indicates that removal from that from Amendment 94, if that puts the municipality in a bad position with respect to the board in considering that by turning the application down initially and then removing it, looks like a double punch, and are we going to get possibly penalized for that at the OMB hearing?
Good question. Mr. Weaver? I would recommend to council, and I'll answer that question for council in camera at the next available meeting, or we have an in-camera session today. I don't think I need to help Mr. Snyder any more than necessary. Mr. Snyder is very capable, and I'm sure he's watching right now. Mr. Snyder didn't personally sign the letter from the solicitor for Paletta. I would say that Councilor Thompson has been around these things for a long time, and he probably has some experience in these matters. I might just give you a hint as to where I think we might go. I think Mr. Snyder might go. As far as this particular appeal is concerned, I also
should have that comment in committee.
I'm also looking at, I also have been in contact with solicitor, and I'm looking at retaining, consulting counsel as to whether we retain outside counsel and as well an outside planner, because what council's done was not recommended by our own planning staff, so we'd have to get, if we can find one, an outside planner would support the actions of council as our witness. As far as an alternative proposal, I have some experience with this particular developer. He is, I think, one of the most rock-hard negotiators I've ever seen in my life. We certainly compromise is always something that's good to try for, but I'm not absolutely sure if Mr. Plata is a compromiser. At least historically, that has not been his pattern of negotiation. Okay, does that answer your question, Councillor? Councillor Ioannoni?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I often sat on this side with the motion and wanted someone to second my deferral so that I can get more information. I'd like to see Councillor Gates get the information he needs before we look at this, so I'd be happy to second his deferral.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Ioannoni. So we now have a motion for deferral, which is not debatable. So we'll have to call the vote. Okay. All those in favor for deferral? Opposed? Okay, it's passed. So this issue is deferred. Are those people in the audience here were you here for this tonight? Yes. Maybe we can ask the clerk just to address so you'll know when you might expect to find out about the new meeting.
Well, similar to what we did with this one, there'd be an advertisement in the newspaper, and there are sign-in sheets outside the council chamber. If you haven't signed them before, sign them tonight and we'll give you direct notice.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Wing.
I did want to comment about the Paletta matter. Mr. Snyder is entitled to his opinion, but this whole suggestion that this is a rearguard action to bolster the city's case, that's a lot of nonsense. Those changes were made in response to the public input to OPA 94. Direction was given by this council last summer to circulate to all residents within so many meters of areas, all areas throughout the whole city, that we're going to have changes in density. And as a result of several public meetings, not just one in that area, but several public meetings in various areas of the city, changes were made, not just to this particular node, but to other areas as well. So to suggest that this is all, hinging on that particular application is a total bunch of nonsense. And I think when the time comes, Mr. Beaman should be keeping that in mind and pointing that out, that this council went above and beyond to really engage the public in the shape of their city in the future, and to solicit and receive input and to make changes in several areas as a result of that input.
Mr. Beaman, I'm sure you with the comments regarding that. Did you have any comment on that? Seeing as I'm sure Mr. Snyder is watching, I want to say as little as I possibly can. Hi, Scott. Okay, fair comment. I now ask the clerk to introduce the next item on the agenda, please.
One more viewing audience extended to Hamilton. The public meeting,
he's watching.
The public meeting is now being convened to consider a proposed amendment to the city zoning bylaw to permit a proposed place of worship at 5205 4th Avenue. Notice was given by first-class mail in accordance with the Planning Act on Friday, May 27, 2011, by posting a sign on the property in question. Anyone who wants notice of the passage of the zoning bylaw amendment to participate in any site plan process, if applicable, or preserve their opportunity to appeal to the Ontario Municipal Board shall leave their name on the sign-in sheets outside the council chamber.
Thank you, Mr. Arafita. I'd now ask Mr. Wilovich to explain the purpose and the reason for the proposed bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This property is the former St. Stephen's Church at the corner of 4th Avenue and McRae. The land is surrounded by residential dwellings to the north, west, and south. To the east is are other residential dwellings, plus a variety store and eventide home. The property had previously served as a place of worship. It was rezoned a number of years ago to convert this into a dwelling with a facility for martial arts school, dance studio, and similar kinds of training facilities. The proposal before us is to reinstate the place of worship as a use on the property. The bylaw also, the proposal also proposes reducing the minimum landscaped open space in the front yard, reducing the aisle width in the parking area, recognizing the maximum height of the building at 11.8 meters, and to recognize an interior side yard of 0.3 meters. These are all existing conditions on the property. They also wish to retain the existing zoning. The amendment, as I said, is to add a place of worship while retaining the right to have a dwelling unit, as well as the martial arts school, dance studio, calisthenics studio, art studio. The applicants also requested a reduction in parking. They estimated a maximum building occupancy of 100 persons, therefore proposing a reduction from the standard 1.5 spaces, which would require 20 spaces. They're proposing 18 spaces. I mentioned the number of site-specific modifications to recognize the existing building. We had two open houses with the neighbors in this area. The neighbors raised concerns about the standard, the upkeep of the property, the hours, they wondered what the hours of operation of the place of worship would be, what exterior changes might be going on, what renovations are currently going on. There was some concern about drainage on the property to the west and potential traffic impacts. Most of those concerns were addressed at the second neighborhood meeting, that the occupancy would be 80 to 90 persons, or in some cases 100 persons. Typical operation would be 9 to 2 each afternoon and 5 to 8:30 p.m. We're not proposing any exterior changes. The property is being cleaned up, and the snow plow operator would be directed to push the snow to the east rather than the west, and parishioners are expected to park on the site. The official plans designated residential, which permits churches as ancillary uses, and therefore the property complies with the official plan. The zoning of the property would retain the existing R2 zoning, along with the existing uses that are permitted. That is a dwelling unit for the priest, a number of school type uses to be ancillary to that place of worship and to add the place of worship. The applicant is asking for a reduction in parking. The staff feels that there should be no reduction in parking. There are a total of 16 spaces that are accessible at all times, which would allow a maximum occupancy of 70 persons. There are 2 parking spaces proposed on 4th Avenue. Those should serve the residential unit in the facility, and so therefore we're recommending that there'll be no change in the parking standard. The amendments to the standard of the zoning bylaw can be supported because they recognize existing site conditions. The property is currently composed of 4 separate properties and a partial block. We're suggesting that the city pass a deeming bylaw to have all of these properties merged into the same ownership so they can be treated as one lot with a common parking area. The planning staff is therefore recommending support of the application, and therefore council approve the application to rezone the lands to a site-specific R2 zone to add a place of worship as a use with an occupancy of 70 persons at any given time. We also recommend that the council pass the deeming bylaw that these lots no longer be part of the plan of subdivision. Those are the highlights of the application.
Thank you, Mr. Hurlovich. Are there any questions or comments from council? Okay, seeing none. Members of the public are advised that failure to make an oral or written submission at this public meeting will result in the Ontario Municipal Board dismissing any referral it receives. Failure to sign the sign-in sheets will result in staff rejecting an appeal as per Section 3419 of the Planning Act. Council will now hear from anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaw amendment. Is anyone here to speak to the proposal other than the applicant? Okay. Council will now hear from the applicant or his or her representative. Please state your name and your address for the records.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Al Haywood. I'm with the firm Matthews and Cameron Surveying in the city here. Having seen no one in opposition, I'll keep my presentation very brief. Really what we're asking for is an addition to the existing uses, just to reinstitute the place of worship. All other requests are existing and have been there for a long time. So unless council has any questions, we are agreeable to the staff recommendation of 70 persons and with regard to the parking. So we are in agreement with staff recommendation if council so sees it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Haywood. We go Councilor Thompson, and then Councilor Marco.
You will close the meeting, I'll make the motion.
Okay. All right, well, the meeting is now closed. We'll accept your motion.
Yes, this is, I think, a simple application going back to its original roots. This was a house of worship for many, many years, and very active for many years, and it's going back to that same use with a couple of minor diversions, so I would be happy to make the motion.
Okay, motion by Councilor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Morocco. Are there any questions or comments to the motion? Okay, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Next up, subject PD 2011-41, which is an appeal of the Committee of Adjustment decision. I'll first ask Alex to speak to it, and then I know that we've got someone that will address it, Mr. Sinclair, in the audience, and then I've got Councilor Thompson after that. So we'll start off with Mr. Hurlovich.
Yes, Your Worship, we're bringing this to your attention as staff. This is a application to create a rural residential lot in the Willoughby Township area. The property has a total area of 35.5 acres. They're proposing to separate 4.5 acres from that property and retain the balance of the property. Because the city's official plan, the region's policy plan, and the provincial growth plan and provincial policy statements don't support rural severances. Staff recommended the Committee of Adjustment not allow the severance. The Committee of Adjustment did approve the severance, we're bringing it to council's attention, recommending that council appeal this. This is notwithstanding the fact that council has asked staff to bring back a report on rural severances. We're working on that report now. Likely that report would come back in August of this year. But we wish to, we're recommending that council proceed with an appeal of the rural residential lot.
Okay, thank you. And then we've got, just before we bring you up, Mr. Sinclair, was there comments you want to hear before Mr. Sinclair? We've got Councillor Thompson and Councillor Pietrangelo.
I don't, I'm really disappointed that this is here. First of all, I attended at the planning department on a couple of occasions with respect to this application. This application is a 4.5 acre lot, which goes back into, 30 acres, which is a managed forest in behind. There's a salvage yard on one side and a substantial residential home on the other side. This particular property was merged together when the owner of the original lot on front bought the property in behind. And because he didn't put it in separate names or separate companies, the property merged. This was originally two separate properties. And all they're asking for at this time is to go back to its original position. It's had separate deeds, separate tax bills, separate roll numbers all this time, and yet here we have a simple application which was unanimously approved by the Committee of Adjustment, and I thought that this was really a very simple application. I understand Mr. Hurlovich is guided by the principles in the Planning Act, both here and at the region. However, this, in my opinion, is a very simple application and should be divided. The people who own it have already taken the responsibility of having a managed forest in behind. They want to continue doing that, and they want to build a residential house on the lot in front. They're going to have burning and trees to block out the salvage yard, and they're going to build one other house as the two partners on the other acreage. It's not agricultural property per se now, it's a managed forest. So hopefully it will be a very quick motion to deal with. We'll hear from Mr. Sinclair, I guess.
We've got Councillor Pietrangelo.
Yeah, Your Worship, thanks very much, and I think Councillor Thompson did a good job of explaining it. It was unanimous at the committee, and I'm glad that I can speak about this one because, in my opinion, it isn't really a consent application. It's already been gone through that there was two separate parcels of land. Any landowner that owns two separate parcels of land, if they join, then automatically they merge on title. The owner didn't know that. Up until the day that the consent application came in, City Hall still had two separate tax rolls for two separate pieces of property. So, Your Worship, this is a natural one. It's not really creating a lot. There was two pieces of parcel or two pieces of land that merged together accidentally, and we're just unmerging them.
Okay. Any other comments of council? Mr. Sinclair, I don't know if you want to add to that or if you want to...
You're pretty good to me. I really can't add too much. I'll just simply say that MCAP has the 34 acres, or the 30 acres rather, is managed forest, and the other piece they've got is vacant land, not on water. And they refused to, actually, the Ministry of Agriculture and Food refused to bring the 4.5 acre parcel in. The managed forest, 34 acres, we paid $200 taxes. On the other piece, which they say is vacant residential, not on water, we pay $900 taxes. So they've been treated since 1965 as separate parcels by all the government agencies, everybody, MCAP, the Ministry of Agriculture and Food, you name it. Every agency is treated it that way. So it's a special situation. And it was unfortunately merged. 1965, people merged stuff, and things were a lot different in those days. You could have divided this into about 4 pieces in those days, but obviously the man didn't know what he was doing, and it caused a bit of a problem now. But I think it's a very minor thing because we're going to have 2 parcels. The one thing that we do have is the region appealing. That sort of scares me. They want us to spend about $35,000 on different tests. They want an archaeological test, for example. They want a noise study, which I don't think they're really entitled to, and they want an environmental study as well. So this costs about $10,000 each. Okay.
So they wanted this, and the committee, I think quite rightly, said no. It's silly. It's a special situation. I wouldn't be here for one piece. You can see from the survey, look at the survey, the piece of land, the 4.5-acre parcel, is exactly the same as the one next door, the salvage yard. It's exactly the same. And obviously, it was really meant to be in this area. This is a separate piece, and it shouldn't be appealed. But if you see fit not to proceed with the appeal, I'd certainly really appreciate if you could write to the region, hopefully, and have them not proceed with the appeal because it's expensive for my client. I don't want to really waste their money on something like this if I can avoid it. And I'm prepared to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Sinclair? Yeah, Councillor Carrier?
I'm not sure, Your Worship, whether this is for Mr. Sinclair or for our staff, but if the region decides to appeal, what part do our staff play in the region's appeal?
Good question for Mr. Hurlovich. Or Mr. Beeman? None.
Absolutely. It's not what I've heard in the past.
Well, I don't know why we would go.
Okay.
Okay, good. Unless, of course, council wanted us there, but...
No.
If they subpoenaed, if they summoned somebody, but other than that, we wouldn't go. Are there any questions of Mr. Sinclair?
Well, Your Worship, just for clarification, Council Carrier asked about our staff play, but, the appeal has been made to the Ontario Municipal Court. So if the case actually gets heard, then what part does our staff play? Not what part does our staff play in the regions. So
we don't have to appear.
But we wrote the report.
But they would be appealing on their own separate report. They wouldn't be appealing on our report, Councillor?
So they would write a separate report for this application?
They would decide to appeal. The region would decide to appeal in the direction of regional council. And they would have to report to the regional council and get instruction from them on a separate report. What they would be appealing on are the conditions that Mr. Sinclair described. That's what the region's interested in, that would be the noise study and that stuff. They wouldn't necessarily, they would use our official plan and so on as part of their case.
The region has appealed. The region has appealed. What the region would do if they ever went ahead with the appeal, they'd subpoena Mr. Hurlovich. I'm sure they'd appeal. Subpoena him, and he's going to obviously have to say that we don't comply with the Niagara Falls official plan, and he's going to have to agree with what they're saying. So,
but that's under compulsion. As far as we wouldn't be participating voluntarily.
That'll happen.
That means that Mr. Hurlovich is not going to prepare for the hearing the way he would if he was preparing it for council.
Well, he's really easy on this. He has to say what he said.
But there's no way he can avoid that.
It doesn't fit into the facts, that's all.
Yeah. But he can't avoid being a witness. He can't avoid being a witness.
No, he can't.
Well, he can't avoid preparing the case. And that's what we won't do unless council tells us to.
Okay, that's fair.
Fair enough. Good. Okay, Councillor Thompson.
I
would make a motion that we not appeal the decision of the Committee of Adjustment, and that an appropriate letter be sent to the regional chair, planning staff, indicating that this was unanimously approved by the Committee of Adjustment, and hopefully by City of Niagara Falls Council, and we do not feel that it is appropriate for the region to appeal this application.
With a brief explanation of it once was separate.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Iannone. Any discussion to the vote yet? Councillor Wynn?
Well, normally I vote against these and in support of staff's planning concerns, but this one, I agree with the solicitor, is a special situation in that these aren't isn't a new parcel being created, but merely an unmerger. So in that case, I can understand, it's just going back to what was formerly. And I do understand why staff want us to support them in the appeal, because those are certainly planning grounds of concern, but it is an unusual situation, and it's just sort of putting back to what was, so I can support that.
That's good. It always helps too, and we've got to fight it at the region where we can say we had a unanimous motion of council. That always certainly helps. Councillor Pietrangelo?
Your Worship, I think that the solicitor was looking for some support as well on the conditions that the region imposed, and unfortunately, we don't have those conditions in front of us. I mean, I know that I had a chance to see them because I sat on the committee of adjustments. One of them, as he alluded to, was an archaeological survey of the property, and I was somewhat flabbergasted when I saw it because, I mean, in all my years, I've never heard of anything of archaeological significance being found, I guess, in the Colon area. So I don't understand how the regional staff would simply just put that request in there and expect the committee to to impose it. But there was other requests, Your Worship, and maybe we could also have council here receive a copy of those requests so that if they wanted to send a letter of support on in the future, they could.
The 3 studies you said, right? You said 4. The studies really aren't important because the decision of the committee was to grant to the city of 5% for park dedication. We didn't object to that, and that's fair on the 4.45 acre parcel. But since this appeal was withdrawn, or even if they went ahead with it, it wasn't mentioned. Okay, those conditions were not put in. So I think that's sort of irrelevant. I don't think we have to worry about those. Although they sort of bring it up in their appeal, they said that they wanted them for various reasons.
So is it maybe Councilor Pietrangelo suggesting that we would send a letter of support? You're saying those studies aren't do you want to clarify that?
Yeah, I guess if the region, I just understood from Mr. Sinclair's first submission that the region was still asking for those. If they're not, I guess they are.
Okay. Maybe council's wish is that the conditions not be imposed on Mr. Sinclair's plan, that my recommendation to council is to make that explicit in your, to say not only we don't agree with the conditions. You're not, I mean, it can't hurt, Brian. No, it doesn't hurt.
And I would agree with that. The only thing I was saying is that council should be privy to those before they actually make that decision. Otherwise, they're making a blind decision. So unless the solicitor wants to explain them, or unless someone wants to hand out what the conditions were.
Well, it seems that we have a friendly amendment accepted already by the mover. Would that be accepted by the seconder for the conditions? And did you need any more, does anyone need any more explanation on those conditions?
You're talking about the archaeological study?
Yes.
Study and environmental study.
So environmental?
The Indian campfire out there, but
so we've got, what are they again, Mr. Sinclair?
Noise study.
Noise.
Because the record makes so much noise, of course it makes no noise. And one environmental study, and then one archaeological study.
Okay.
It's sort of the 3 separate headings.
Okay.
$10,000 each.
Okay, so that's included in the motion. The seconder is agreeable. Are there any other comments to the motion? Okay, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we've got PD 2011-35. It's a regional policy plan amendment, and I would ask Mr. Hilovich to speak to it if you would.
Thank you, Worship. There is no slide presentation on this. It's really making council aware of a proposal by the region. The region passed Regional Policy Plan Amendment number 2-2009 in 2009. This was their amendment to bring the regional policy plan in compliance with the road plan. They based their projected population on 545,000 people within the region by 2031. That was appealed to the intermunicipal board by the province because the province had allocated 511,000 people, a difference of about 34,000 people. So the region is trying to satisfy the province and to remove one of the appeals. There's also another appeal by the Township of West Lincoln, who felt that they didn't get an appropriate number of people allocated to them, and so therefore they would like the allocations through the 12 area municipalities done in a different way. So the region is trying to appease West Lincoln as well, so that Smithville can end up with an urban boundary expansion. There's 5 scenarios laid out by the region, and then there's a 6th one where West Lincoln is suggesting that they would actually just borrow some of Niagara Falls population, also some population from Fort Erie and Port Colborne. And planning staff doesn't recommend any of those 5 alternatives. Planning staff supports the scenario number 1, which is the original application and the basis behind the region's policy plan. It's also the basis behind all of the work that we've been doing at the local level to bring our plan into compliance with the growth plan. And so we really want to go on record as saying that we don't support any of the scenarios that allow West Lincoln to have a greater portion of the region's growth than has already been allocated. So our recommendation back to the region is that scenario 1 is supported and that we do not support any of the alternative population allocations.
Okay, Councillor Thompson. Yeah, I would move the motion. This is an obvious one where we've done a lot of effort and a lot of work, not only publicly but in the private sector with respect to this. And the proposals put forward, I think, are valid and have been vetted with other consultants, so I would move the recommendation and Mr. Hernovitz's comments with respect to that, and contrary to West Lincoln's request. Okay, moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Iannone. Are there any comments on the report? It's interesting, too, to note that Niagara Falls in all the scenarios by far is leading the population growth in the region over the next 20 years. Councillor Wayne?
Yeah, just the one thing that really jumped out at me was the suggestion that should the region proceed further with any of the alternative scenarios that run contrary to their Niagara 2031 growth model, they should be taken through a full public consultation process to allow for municipalities, stakeholders, and the general public to review and comment. I think that's a very important paragraph.
Absolutely. Okay, so we'll call the motion. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Great. Okay, moving on to my comments. First off, it's Italian Heritage Month, and I'm sure you've noticed some of the art display here at City Hall in Council Chambers, and as well as second floor lobby, and in Committee Room number 1. The display has been loaned to us to help us commemorate Italian Heritage Month here in Niagara Falls. We're proud to have it on display this week, as members of the public are invited to view the collection entitled Fratelli d'Italia, showcasing 80 pieces of art by renowned artists from Italy, Silvio Emilio. In addition, I was happy to take part in heritage festivities this weekend, yesterday at Club Italia, though I have to give credit to Port Colborne Mayor Vance Badaway and his success in the grape stomp. And yes, Councillor Iannone, I know you want to comment, but let me finish it first. And we had the grape stomp competition yesterday against myself, Mayor Badaway from Port Colborne, and Mark Cressman, the publisher of the Niagara Falls Review. And although it was my first stomp at the grapes, I had to develop some techniques. By the time I realized the way to do it, it was too late. The contest was over. But I did take the silver, I'm happy to say, just before the publisher of the review decided to dump all the grape juice all over us. And yeah, nice guy. Anyway, he did drink it as well, which I was a little surprised because it was made with our feet, and I assume everybody washed their feet, but I don't know. I can't speak for anyone but myself. Anyway, did you want to comment on that at all, Councillor Iannone?
Well, I understand it's already on Facebook, and it was quite humorous to watch, I might add. But as in the it takes one to know one, it was very sad to see a munja cake kick your backside, and he did very well.
I told him an extra weight behind his feet. The grapes were squishing themselves when they saw him coming. All right, but anyway, it was a great day. It was really neat. We had all the Italian clubs from the region all show up there. We had all the different clubs. We had the music. We had
Councilor Carrio's daughter singing. We had special guests performing from Italy. It was a real special day with fireworks and a lot of people. The weather was outstanding, and it was a lot of fun. I'm sure the big picnic will be a big event as well. We'll look forward to it. Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Conference was held here in Niagara Falls this year, and we had all the Great Lakes cities represented right here in the Falls, and it was pretty neat to meet mayors from the big cities in the U.S. as well as Canada, including we had Mayor Hazel here for the event, and we discussed the Great Lakes. You know, it's interesting, there's 6 quadrillion gallons of water in the Great Lakes, 20% of the world's fresh water right here in this Great Lakes basin. And when you realize that water is going to become the gold or the oil of tomorrow, fresh, clean, drinkable water, and we're sitting on a resource here that probably a lot of us don't truly appreciate, and we realize the importance of preserving it, making sure it stays clean for generations to come, because of the importance, not just financially, but for sustenance of life. And it's important that we take care. We say we wouldn't allow someone to spit in the village well. Let's make sure that nobody spits in our Great Lakes. So it was great. There's a lot of attention drawn to the area, and all the big city mayors are all on side to make sure that it gets protected. Niagara Luminaire LED street lighting project. This is really neat. It's an initiative of the City of Niagara Falls, the City Council. We kicked it off last week with an exciting pilot. We've got GAMs in the city and 16 different energy-saving tests going on with different street lighting products from around the world. So we've got all these different companies, and we've given them all different streets to set up. Some are very decorative. They're all LED, so they're very efficient in terms of energy. Bless you. They're going to last a lot longer than the current lighting system that we have in the system. They're smaller, more intense, and it's going to save us potentially lots of money on our hydro bills. And I know that Mr. Holman's department's been working very hard with GAMS to make sure that the success goes well. Now, the neat thing is we've got 16 different test zones throughout the city where all the competitors are going to have their own street. So we're going to do tours. When everything's set up, we're going to get on buses, all the council. We're inviting mayors for all around Ontario, and we're going to drive around the neighborhoods, and we're going to evaluate the lighting. At the same time, Niagara Peninsula Energy is going to track the energy consumption, so we can see how efficient they are, how much money that we can save, and we're going to drive around and say aesthetically how nice they are, what ones we like. Some might be too bright. See, I'm sorry, what was that, Councilor Thomas? Did you want to?
As a matter of fact, I had a call about the lights on Tapestry, saying that illumination was very poor and they couldn't see, so I hope that's not an indication of what we're expecting.
Well, see, that's the nice thing about this. All of them, they've all told us that they make the best light, the most superior lights. We brought in the biggest manufacturers from around the world to try. The other thing of interest, too, is a lot of them can set different intensities on the lights, and it's that happy medium, because you don't want a bright light shining through your blinds when you try to sleep at night, but at the same time, you want it to be bright enough that it's safe and you can see kids out on the street. So it's a great point, and that's what we're going to evaluate. Yeah, and we can raise them up. Is that what you're saying? They should be more intense? Okay, we'll pass that along to the GAMS people. The neat thing, we were thrilled to see this cutting-edge green technology in Niagara Falls, birthplace of hydroelectric energy and the greenest of all green energies. And we congratulate Larry Vaughn of GAMS and his foresight in investing in this kind of a project. So what's going to happen? Niagara Falls is going to become, if it goes according to plan, the test ground. So anyone that's got an LED lighting system, they'll ask them, have you tested it in Niagara Falls? And we're going to have mayors and councilors from other cities around the province coming down, staying overnight, getting on bus tours, and touring all the different, and evaluating to see what they think. So the nice thing is it's going to be a real, here in the same city, you'll be able to compare all the competitors out in the street, not in ideal conditions inside of a building, outside the way it really is. Mr. Holman, did you have anything you wanted to add to the event?
Not really, Mr. Mayor, other than just to encourage residents who would like to participate by going to the website and filling out the survey, letting us know what location you're evaluating, and looking at those things like shadows, does it make you feel safe, and answering the questions around the questionnaire. We'll use that qualitative information to help us make the decision. It won't necessarily be the one that saves us the most money in terms of cost effectiveness. We have to balance that out with some of these other qualitative factors. So I encourage everyone to participate in the online survey.
That's great. So go to the city's website, niagarafalls.ca, and we'll have everything, when do we expect, Mr. Holman, to have everything installed, if everything goes according to plan?
Mr. Mayor, everything's installed now. We'll be collecting the survey information over the next 30 to 45 days.
And everything's operational, ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, great. That's great. And we'll be notifying council of a tour night where you're going to get on one of the buses and travel around and evaluate all the systems. We'll do it as a group, so it should be fun. Breakfast Television was in town on Friday, and we're proud to have Dina, Kevin, and the entire BT Toronto gang broadcasting live from the Oaks Garden in Niagara Falls, and it was a thrill. They once again showed the video of me going down the slide in my suit at the water park, which was great. We didn't have to do it again. So it was a real good event, and it's amazing how many people coast to coast actually watched the show. It was great to have the spotlight on Niagara Falls that day, and luckily the weather worked. We had a citizenship ceremony, and we were happy to greet and help congratulate 36 new Canadians from 26 different countries with former mayor of Niagara Falls, now Judge Bill Smeaton, and that took place at the McBain Center, and it's like these people had just won the lottery, and it was nice. We had Councillor Morocco and Councillor Gates with us down there as well, and Councillor Greenwood from the region, and it was really neat to see the looks on their faces like they just won the lottery. They've just been accepted into the greatest country on the planet, and the greatest city in the country, so I mean, they twice won the lottery. Upcoming events, speaking of greatest countries, Canada Day, it's going to be this Friday, and the council here well invited to walk in the parade, and then join us at the stage as we recognize a number of people who are going to win or be acknowledged for different citizenship awards. The parade begins at 10 o'clock sharp on Morrison and will march right into Optimus Park. There will be all sorts of festivities inside the building, outside the building. Parade marshals will be Captain Christopher Canavan and Sergeant Ryan Martinson, who've recently returned from Afghanistan. So they will be our parade marshals, and we'll proudly go in the parade behind them. We've got all sorts of bands, entertainment, we've got displays, culinary demonstrations, and more, and it's all free, so bring your family. The weather looks really good. And last up, 2011 census. It's a reminder that we've received from the federal government. The National Household Survey is at most of your houses. We ask that you participate. All you have to do is go on the website to fill in the information. It literally takes a couple of minutes, and the federal government thanks you. Thank you very much. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, we did have a walk on Friday down the trail, the Legacy Trail, the Olympic Legacy Trail, and we were joined by one of our staff out there, our Director of Planning, Mr. Hilovich. And Mr. Hilovich, and I do need to share with everybody, you did look great that day. We did the walk for the CBC Live, and then afterwards, he had a barbecue promoting Wellsprings and something that he's passionate about. He's so passionate about the Wellsprings event that he put on a really cute dress and high-heel shoes, and he walked down the trail with us, with about 50 of us. And Mr. Hilovich, did you want to share any of that experience? How your calves feel?
Well, I thought the dress maybe looked fat. But I just wanted to say that I had great support from the management staff and the union staff at City Hall. It was a fabulous event. We took in almost $1,000 for Wellspring, which is a regional cancer support center, and I'm just really proud of the way in which everybody rallied behind me and supported this for a really good cause. Thanks, everybody.
And for anyone that's dying to know what he looked like that day, I happened to snap a picture and put it on my Facebook site, so feel free to check it out. You're real cute, Alex. And he's a good sport. All right, moving on now to communications and comments of the city clerk. First up, we got Clifton Hill BIA, and they are requesting, moved by Councillor Carrier, their budget, seconded by Councillor Maves. All those in favor? Okay, it's passed. Next up, Fallsview BIA requesting approval of their budget. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Maves. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, it's approved. Item 3, we've got the Junior Bs and Cs expressing concerns regarding the proposed FHL hockey team proposed to play at the Gale Center. Are there any comments on that? Councillor Ioannoni.
Is there an updated status to this? Do we know anything more?
Oh, sure, Mr. Holman.
Mr. Mayor, all we know is that this group wants to come in and operate out of our facilities. They're prepared to pay full rate, just as any other club wants to run rights from the city. That's the extent of the details we have. There's some correspondence there from the junior Bs and Cs, but there are no arrangements or agreements made today.
Okay, Councilor Arnold?
When you read the letter from the semi-pro hockey team, it says they were not going to knock off the local team's ice time. But if I'm not misunderstanding things, they want a lot of Saturday nights, and our guys use the Saturday nights. So they were worried that am I wrong there? Okay.
Yeah, just for the record, too, that it said apparently on their website that we had endorsed this group, and that was absolutely not true. What had in fact happened, they had approached us, and like any other group, they met with me in the mayor's office, and I recommended them to our recreation and culture staff. They sat down to see what ice time that we had available, and they worked within their schedule for full-time adult user rates. They also realized that they could not participate in rink board advertising because that's taken. They realized they could not participate in the vending because that is already spoken for. So all they were asking for is off nights that they could utilize the ice surface at full pop. And they had also asked that if any of the groups are practicing in the main bowl the night of a game, if they wouldn't mind moving to one of the other bowls so they could be in the bigger one with spectators. That is all that they had asked for, and last I had heard, staff were still, I think they had accommodated most of the request in terms of hours without displacing anybody. And that's where it was at, the last that we had heard. So we've got a few speakers. We've got Councillor Thompson, Councillor Morocco, Councillor Pierangelo, Councillor Gates, Councillor Mace.
Well, as you can imagine, when everybody gets an email and suggesting that we knew about it and we were sanctioning in this without having a discussion, it was concerning. However, historically, this has always been a concern with respect to the junior teams when we attempted to get a junior A team here on numerous occasions. And also, there was another professional league years ago that was looking at it. The same concerns were being expressed. And I would just suggest that you meet with and keep these people in the loop so that they know exactly what's going on, and if you can protect their interests as being long-time investors and people being in the community, particularly the Mastersons for 40 years, that we take that into consideration. The other group, if they're coming in and buying time and not having a negative impact, that shouldn't be a problem. But I think particularly in your case, if you and the senior staff could meet with the other two junior teams and make sure they understand completely what is going on and keep them up to date and look after any of their concerns. I think that's appropriate.
Absolutely, and we did get a call from Pete Glardy, and we explained, he was the one that brought it to our attention that we were on their website. We had no knowledge of that, so we brought it to their attention very quickly that we had that changed. Okay, we've got Councilor Morocco, Pierangelo, Gates, and Maves.
Yes, Your Worship. I'll make it short because Councillor Thompson touched on a few points. I did speak with Mr. Masterson today, and he had some concerns about numbers and trying to be able to accommodate enough people to over 3 teams. But apparently they really haven't had much input with the other group or city, so I was just going to ask also, pretty much along the same lines as Councillor Thompson, is that you bring them maybe all together, and staff can work with them all together and provide them to sit at the table and kind of work it out if that's a possibility.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Pierangelo.
Thanks, Your Worship. I just wanted to talk about the allocation of ice for a second, and I know that it was already brought up. It could become an issue. I know it's not an issue right now because what you're doing is you're booking times that aren't booked right now. But once the Bs and the Cs actually get into playoffs, then they need to book a 7-game schedule within 11 days. And so they have to talk to the league, and they actually have to book their home games. And I know in the B League, I'm not quite certain about the C League, but in the B League, there's seniority rankings. So certain teams hold seniority rankings over others. For instance, if Niagara Falls is playing St. Catharines has ownership of Friday night games. Niagara Falls can't get it from them because they hold seniority rank. So in other words, Niagara Falls wouldn't be able to book a junior B playoff game on a Friday if they were playing St. Catharines. They would have to go to St. Catharines to book that game. And if we already had the FHL booked here on a Saturday night, then that would preclude the Bees from playing here on a Friday and a Saturday night. So I think the concern was more from the standpoint of would ice be available during playoff time. During the regular season is set for both teams, and they know their schedule. But during the playoffs, they have to schedule 7 games within 11 days. And I think all we're looking for really is a commitment from staff and from council as well that they're going to be able to book those games. Personally, I don't think that they'll have a problem. So I hope that staff has that same commitment moving forward.
Fair comment. Councilor Gates.
Thanks very much, and Mayor Victor is right on the money. I talked to Mr. Matheson earlier today. It's not just the Friday night date, it is the playoff and how that would work on ice time. But I think the bigger issue for me was the fact that I happened to be on the website at 1 o'clock in the morning when it's heading out in the morning, and I was review website, and I read that council was in support of it. I think you saw the article as well, and I think that's what really got everybody, not only the council, but also the junior Cs and the junior Bs, when you read that in a local newspaper, that this council's supporting it when we didn't even know anything about it, quite frankly. So I could see why the junior Bs and junior Cs were upset and how it come about. I believe on a go-forward basis, whatever we do, we talked about this downstairs not that long ago, we should bring all the stakeholders in and see if there's a way that you can work stuff out on a go-forward basis. I think that would make sense. And there's one other thing that I think we should all be proud of, quite frankly, is the Junior B Canucks have been here for 40 years. They're going to celebrate their 40th year this year in the community, taking care of and raising, quite frankly, some good young athletes and good citizens. And I'd like us to honor that at the Gill Center this year with maybe something at Center Ice, and it's their 40th anniversary year as well. So thanks very much.
It's a good idea. Councilor Mace.
Well, Your Worship, I view this as a very nice problem. Hopefully we have a new business coming to town, and we're going to run some more ice time. And I think, as well, I spoke to Mr. Masterson today, and that was his big concern, was about playoff time. And I think, too, perhaps maybe we can use this and say that who's been here the longest, maybe they get first crack at the playoff picture, and I'm sure it can be worked out. But as I said, I view this as a nice problem, and I'm looking forward to perhaps even some of the hotels. If these teams are from out of town and that, our hotels will get some more action and some more people in the city. So I think it's great. I think it's everybody's going to win in this, hopefully.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's an opportunity. We do have a big mortgage on that Gill Center, and the sooner we can pay it down, the better, as long as we're not going to negatively impact the teams that have been here forever. Councillor Wing.
Yes, Mr. Whitaker, the Nationals president, says that the Nationals would be one of the sponsors to both the Junior B and C teams, and it is the desire of the Niagara Falls Nationals to have a beneficial and professional working relationship with Niagara Falls minor hockey in general, and yet up above he said we haven't yet personally spoken to the Junior B franchise or the Junior C franchise. So on one hand he comes bearing roses, and on the other hand, he freely admits he hasn't even made an attempt to touch base with them. So I agree, that is what needs to happen. The stakeholders need to be brought together at the same table and figure out a way to accommodate all, hopefully. And as Councillor Mabe says, yeah, it's a nice problem to have.
Absolutely. One big happy family. All we have to do is make sure that, I guess the first step was to make sure we even had the ice time, otherwise the discussion would be a waste of time. Do we even have it available? And that's how it started. And that's where it was at. It wasn't anywhere beyond that. And they were a little premature, I think, premature speculation, putting the comments on the website. So, but that's okay. We're dealing with it, and as you say, it's a good problem to have, and we'll sort through it. All right, so in that regard, receive and file the motion, receive and file, Councillor Arnone, second by Councillor Maves. All those in favor? Okay, great. Item 4, ANO, Association of Municipalities of Ontario. This is the annual request for delegations before ministers. For anyone going, this year it's going to be held in London. The deadline is upon us to put in requests. Now, it's a little bit of an odd year. The deadline is July the 18th, and you can get requests through to our clerk if there's anyone in particular you'd like to sit with. Councillor Arnone.
Well,
I think considering our past communications with the Minister of Health and the lack of anything that's been done, perhaps we need to put her back on our list.
Okay, so we have Mr. Matthews on the list. Deb Matthews, okay. Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, I would think it would be a natural to have a Minister of Tourism, and also the Minister responsible for casinos. The casino, obviously, the 7,000-seat entertainment facility, but our assessment issue. Also, the BIA in Windsor has received $360,000 a year from the casino. The BIA here has received zero, and one of the reasons in a meeting with the chairman of the OLG was basically you haven't resolved your assessment issue. We don't even want to talk to you until that. So I think certainly the minister involved there, and I think we have some grave concerns with respect to the Minister of Tourism and the Niagara Parks Commission. Our annual stipend for services, certainly the recent deferral for Robert Street, and between Stanley and the Victoria, which they backed off in cutting, and that now is in the region hands. Hopefully it won't end up back in our hands, but all these are serious concerns. The RTO funding is something should be addressed. This is a prime time prior to the provincial election to deal with this situation. Did we sign the documents for the people mover agreement today, or is that still outstanding?
It's right there. It's right there. We're just about, well, it's right there. There.
Yeah. Well, these are all things that we should be sitting down, and I have a whole list of them. I'd be happy to share it, but there are two major ministries and ministers that we should be talking about, and I'm being really good and reserved tonight because I could be off on a different tangent, I can tell you.
Okay, so we've got Minister Matthews from Councillor Councillor Thompson suggesting Minister Duncan, Minister Chan, and then, I don't know if potentially Minister Murray, Glenn Murray is one of the other people that we need to invite in. Now, Minister Pupatello isn't a bad one to meet with, especially, in light of the fact she's announced she's going to be retiring as well. So, yes. So, potentially Pupatello?
I would think in light of her situation, she's probably not even going to be attending, so I think it would be a waste of time.
Okay. Well, any feedback on that? Because I don't know the status of her ministry right now, with her announcement. Okay. Well, we're looking at, we've got till July the 18th. Okay. If there's any other ministries that you'd think you'd like to meet with, and there's no guarantee we're going to get in. We put in the request, and then it's up to the ministry. So now you got Councillor Gates, Councillor Peter Angelo.
Just real quick, Mayor Diodati, who would we meet with on procurement for buying local and that kind of stuff? Is there somebody, I know when they're in Halifax, my understanding there is a booth there that talked about buy Canadian and procurement, and I would think that would be a very good one for us to meet with and find a way that we can spend our tax dollars right here in
I think that was a federal ministry, wasn't it? Yeah, but I don't know, Minister of Trade or something like that, but I don't know provincially who that...
Check it out, and check it out as well over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and if you find it on your own as well, we can let the clerk know, and he'll do the best. Yeah. Okay. Councilor Peter Angelo.
Your Worship, thank you. And my question would be, since it's an election year, do the opposition leaders or leader of the opposition and the other parties as well meet with councillors? It's always a good idea during an election year to get the opinion of the other parties as well. And I remember that we did that back when we were proposing the casino. We went to all three leaders, and this way we would know their position going into the provincial election. I'm not sure whether or not they'll be at Amo, but if they are, would you request to meet with them as well?
Hudak and Horvath?
Exactly.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Emmett?
I remember attending the last AMO convention in an election year, and you were surrounded. They're all there. So it's certainly not hard to find them, particularly this year. So, I mean, they're going to be there. I'm sure they would love to have municipalities speak to them.
Yeah, just on that point, Your Worship, I think it would be somewhat astute to meet with them as well to understand what their positions are when we get the provincial election.
That's a good idea. Mr. Fida?
Yes, Your Worship. I mean, this process that's in your communications is really administered through the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing and only deals with the sitting member, sitting party, if you will. However, I'm sure through your office, we can make overtures to the two other leaders, and I think in an election year, they'd be more than happy to try to make some time in their schedule. So it wouldn't be through this process, but through your office, I'm sure we can make those overtures.
That's a great idea, Councilor. Councilor Gates?
Just real quick, all three leaders will be speaking at AMO. All three have got times allocated to speak.
Okay. Okay, good. So, again, if in the meantime you think of anyone else you'd like to invite, we'll just notify Mr. Arafita and we'll try to get him on the list. Okay. Next up, playground safety. Is that up next? Yeah. No, it's not on the list. Oh, okay. We'll ask the city clerk if there's any further items for council's consideration.
No further
communications. Thank you. Next up is the report MW 2011-27, which is playground safety issues. I'll ask Mr. Holman if you'd like to address this one.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. You recall at our meeting on May 30th, council directed staff to investigate some of the problems that had been reported at Preakness Park and asked us to come back with some solutions, not just to address Preakness, but to have a more comprehensive look at all of the city-owned playgrounds. We're reporting tonight that Preakness Park has experienced considerable amount of vandalism. It's unfortunate that we have to go back into these facilities and repair them and replace them when we could be spending money on other important parts of our infrastructure. However, it's important that these play stations are safe for the public to use. We do have a number of facilities that are at the point where replacement parts and their condition is challenging to keep to a standard that's acceptable. We do have capable, competent staff who are certified playground practitioners to make sure that there's no loose pieces or parts that children will get hurt. This year's budget has been a bit of a challenge to try and address some of those, but we do have funding allocated for the Crimson Park project, and a component of that is being tendered. The tender is closed earlier this week, and that report is on the consent agenda. We did set aside another $76,000 to be used to do playground improvements. And given the amount of work that's required to make Preakness Park safe, we're suggesting that we allocate that entire resource to that project. I have Cynthia Roberts here, our manager of Parks and Cemeteries. If you're having specific questions, perhaps she could help me as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Holman. Councilor, I know he's sorry. Councilor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no problem moving the recommendation. I would only ask that, what do we do if we use the whole 76 we've allotted for improvement in our parks, plural? Where are we going to get money to fix parks that need it from here to the next budget if we use everything in Preakness Park? Because I'm clear there's far more parks that need even minor repair. So where are we getting those monies from?
Okay, the $76,000 for the Preakness is a capital budget item. We still have funding set aside in our materials budget and contracted services accounts in our operating budget that we'll use to maintain the other parks. It will be a challenge. We know that Ontario Park and Valor Park are going to require probably most of those resources. But I think our primary concern is making everything safe. If we have to come back to you in a month's time or 6 weeks' time to ask for more resources, we're prepared to do that as well. But in any case, we'll not allow any playground to stay open if it's not safe.
And I like to hear that, because it would seem to me if Preakness Parks needs $76,000 in repair, it was really bad off. And I don't want to see any kids being hurt on public equipment when we have a report in front of us telling us how many are in need. So I think nailing boards up to a playground is probably not a direction we want to go, and probably doesn't meet CSA standards either.
Okay, great. We got Councilor Thompson, and then Rocco, then Mike. Yes. First of all, I think the most important aspect of the entire report here is the fact that you have to have a plan, a maintenance plan, a 5 or 10-year plan, and then we have one for recreation. And I think if we're putting this as a capital budget item, pretty insignificant for capital budgeting. Are we not allocating? Are we cutting back, or are we putting sufficient funds for looking after the playgrounds? It appears when you have 15 and 18 and 19 years where these things should be replaced after 15, that we're not doing the right job and we're not putting sufficient money to make it all happen. Mr. Hall?
Mr. Mayor, I think that's a good assessment. I recognize, though, in this year being a transition budget year and having some difficult financial challenges over the past couple of years, we've had a tendency to redirect the funding towards some of the other core services because we can still fix these up to an acceptable standard. But we have not been setting aside appropriate amounts of money for reserves to handle playground equipment when it gets damaged by vandalism. And as you can appreciate, even a 10-year capital plan for equipment that's already 15 years old and should be replaced now is not going to be probably soon enough to deal with some of these issues. And we may have to go back.
Let me make it clear, I wasn't talking about that. I'm talking about you got to have a plan in place for maintenance and upkeep of this equipment and playgrounds. Obviously, these have already passed that time, but if you don't have a plan, how are you going to control what we're doing here? And if you need more money, obviously you have to request it for this particular area of the budget. Are you suggesting we're not in a healthy situation financially?
What I'm saying is that we've directed that funding to other projects, and we haven't set aside sufficient reserves to keep those assets up to speed.
Okay, I think the plan is very important. The other thing, the vandalism, very upsetting that this is occurring, particularly in one part, but I suggest it happens in a lot of areas. At one point, it was so bad in the Chippewa area, we had a surveillance group go in there periodically to try to control the vandalism. Do we still do that now, or is that concluded?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have a security company that we hire on an as-needed basis. We don't have them on permanent contract. We've been trying to get our shift supervisors to spend a little bit more time doing more thorough night patrols, and trying to get into the regional police assist in this way at all? Upon request. I think what it requires, though, is the community to be a little bit more diligent in reporting vandalism and damage to our community parks. They can respond a little bit more quickly that way. But it's going to require a combination of those efforts to make sure that we resolve the matter.
Well, I think with the regional police, if you have a persistent problem, young people who do vandalism like to talk about it, and if you get them into the schools and talking to their peers, you're usually going to find out where the problem is and where it lies. The other thing is, if there's something persistent, is there a possibility that you could use cameras, video cameras, periodically on a roving basis? You don't have to have 15 of them. If you had one or two and had signs up there under video surveillance to try to cut down some of the vandalism, is that used elsewhere, or can it be used?
Mr. Mayor, I might ask if Cynthia Roberts wants to help me with that question.
Cynthia Roberts, how are you? Maybe you can answer the question from Councillor Thompson.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'd like to say that we have a few of our parks that have a neighborhood park watch program, and Riverview is one of them in Chippewa, and so is Preakness. Riverview parents especially have been very helpful in contacting city staff and letting us know that there's issues, and we have had vandals apprehended by the police, and we have had success there. We also contract out a security company, and they have a list of priority parks that they go to on a rotating random basis. And Preakness and Riverview and Bambi are 3 of the 20 that are on that list.
What makes me feel better is just the idea that there's all kinds of vandalism. Obviously, there are things being done, but I think there may be some more opportunities, and certainly the neighborhood watch is always a great way, but there could be some video surveillance is always extremely well successful in those areas.
You're right, and especially now with video. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. The video surveillance is good, but it would not cover the complete park. Preakness, for example, has a playground with security lighting that watches over the playground, but there's also berms and trees where some of the individuals go to do whatever activities that...
Whatever?
Yeah, whatever. Riverview Park, for example, is a very big park, and a surveillance camera wouldn't be able to cover the entire park, as in most of the parks. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's a good idea. Councillor Ioannoni?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Holman. Mr. Holman, we have a number of Parks and Rec staff certified in SEPTED. We have a number of staff throughout the organization certified in SEPTED. I know we're looking at hosting a SEPTED conference, a SEPTED session in September. Have our parks all been audited? Because that can be done internal. We don't have to hire anybody. We're certified to do it. I know that I'm certified level 2 advanced. I know we have a number of others of our staff who are certified level 2. Why aren't we doing this?
I guess the short answer is no. It's something we have to do in developing the priorities for our 10-year capital needs assessment, and absolutely should be done. And we can look into the appropriate training to make sure that we have an accurate audit done on each one of our facilities.
Okay. Next, we've got Councillor Morocco, Ring, and Gates.
Your Worship, actually, one of the questions was in regards to reserve fund. I think they've already touched on that, too, having reserves put away for replacement of the equipment for the future, and I think it'd be a great opportunity to bring to our attention. I'm sure we'll know at next year's budget that that's something that we have to actually make sure stays in the budget. Also, I just want to bring to your attention is that a few meetings ago, I asked was it Todd Harris to actually take a look at the capital budget, because in there we have $10,000 that is not shown, that is going to be, it was section 4, page 77, the park section, and it doesn't show that $10,000, and he said that he would have that looked at and revised a sheet be given back to us for our budget books. He's not here, so I'm sorry to put you on the spot, though.
Okay, perhaps Catherine Louie can answer that, but I know that he's made the revision, and the $10,000 that we got from the TV Ontario,
Yes.
has been reassigned to the playground or play space improvement program.
Okay.
All right, and both sheets have been amended. I guess they haven't been forwarded.
Okay. So we will be expecting that revised sheet.
You'll be getting them shortly.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wayne?
Yes, I'm a little disappointed that we had money set aside for Valor Park, and it seems to be getting bumped in favor of Preakness, because apparently both are in need of attention and have similar issues. But the two things I really wanted to highlight is at the bottom of page 3, the statement, the city, having chosen to provide play spaces, has a legal duty to maintain those play spaces to a standard of reasonable safety. And I think the fact that this is a legal duty really needs to be underlined. I don't think we should be committing $1 million to a private recreational facility when we're not fulfilling our legal obligation to keep up the public facilities that we have in our inventory. The other thing that I think is important to highlight is we have various city crews who have, as part of their responsibilities, an obligation to report any problems they might discover in terms of safety in our parks, but staff also relies on the public to advise of any safety issues they may see with the playground equipment while visiting the playground with their children. Just for the benefit of the watching public, who do they report it to? What number should they call? What division should they ask for? Because I think we really need to, in order to save money and cut down on the vandalism, to have the public help us keep these playgrounds in top shape. So who do they call? What number?
I'm going to ask Cynthia if you have any feedback on that.
Yes. We asked them to call the Municipal Service Center at 905-356-1355.
Hopefully that's flashing across the screen right now for the viewers at home. Call right now. Also, I know Councillor, we had here recently, Councillor Iannoni's working with them. Crime Stoppers is another potential. Now, mind you, the only downside of that is the damage has already been done, but at least it's one more deterrent that we can use to our advantage. It doesn't cost us. Anyone can call Crime Stoppers as well, or the service center. Obviously, you can always call the police. And really, it's like a block parent program. We need the residents to be our eyes and our ears because we can't be everywhere, and it's their equipment. I mean, everybody at home owns that equipment, so we need everyone to keep an eye on it for us because in the end, it costs us extra. Councillor Gates.
Thanks very much, Mayor Diodati. One thing I think it's important to say that in Preakness and a lot of other parks, like Councillor Thompson talked about, a lot of this problem is vandalism. A lot of the problems, it's not that we're neglecting these parks. Unfortunately, some of this stuff is causing some damage. So it's not that we're not doing our job, our staff isn't doing their job. The vandalism is taking place after dark in a lot of cases, and they don't find it till the next morning. I think it's important to let people know that. But one of the interesting comments that you had was in the reserves for the parks. Your comment was the money was moved somewhere else rather than for the parks, or the reserves were, where did it go, so that I'd understand that comment?
Well, I think, through the mayor, when you have challenging budget years, you look at your needs versus your wants, and in the absence of having a proper 10-year replacement program, we had a tendency to move some of the fund some of those projects from reserves rather than to rely on the tax base to raise new revenues. And then over year after year, it starts to become a problem because you start to dwindle your reserves to the point where you don't have enough to deal with urgent issues that arise from time to time. It's really just a function of the decision-making process, and I suppose it's easy to be kind of critical in hindsight, but it's something that had to be done during your budget deliberations.
I can tell you that I'm not trying to be critical at all. I asked a question, is where were they moved? That was it. It wasn't, I'm just saying, okay, you moved them. Where did you move them? Obviously, you took them out of the reserve funds that were there for parks. You moved them for other things. I just asked, and I certainly wasn't being critical. If that's how you took it, I apologize. I'm just saying, where did you move it, and where did you spend it? And I guess how much was in it at the time that you started to move the money?
Is it a question that Mr. Harrison would have more handle, or?
He's not here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask a question at a later date, but it'd be something that maybe somebody get a response to me, because I'm just trying to find out. There's a pot of money over here. We decided to use it for something else, and that's fair. I'd just like to know what we used it for. On this whole issue around parks, and I think the council collectively, I think to me it's all about priorities, and the parks. It's a quality of life important in Niagara Falls. And I think more and more families, because of the local economy, quite frankly, are staying home. And they're utilizing the parks with their children and their grandchildren as stay vacations. And I think we're seeing that right across the city. A lot of people, because of the price of gas, because of the job situation here in the Niagara area, the tourism's the type of year, but it hasn't been a great year for tourism. So there may not be a lot of extra dollars. And one of the things that you can really enjoy, and I've done it with my family and my grandkids, is a park in your area. And I think it's important to make sure make sure our parks are safe and our kids can enjoy them. And just one other comment that I think is important. I have had a number of calls about some parks, and quite frankly, what they're saying is what they need is maybe some fresh paint. And I think what we've done in other years, and I don't know if we're doing it this year, and it's a bit of a question, is that we had students, which I believe that we can hire with help from some levels of government to offset the cost of the city, that maybe we could hire some students, 3 or 5 students, that would go around to all our parks and maybe throw a coat of paint on them. Sometimes that goes a long way. It freshens it up. It may even put some more pride in taking care of that park. So it's just a suggestion, and I don't know if anybody wants to respond to it, but I don't know if you've done that this year, but that's one thing that I have heard, that the park's in good shape, but the paint could use a coat of paint. And I really appreciate the time.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Gates raised a very good point, and the fact that we're going to be looking at comprehensively at our entire inventory, doing the SEPTED audits, and examining the condition a little more closely, we'll be able to make those types of decisions. I agree, a coat of paint can go a long way where it's a worthwhile investment. Right now we're scrambling to get the grass cut and make them look presentable. When we get to the point in the summer, that's our next area of interest. So I appreciate you raising the point.
Well, a lot of valid points, and that's the beauty about the recommendation. It's a 10-year capital replacement program for all equipment in the city. So it's exactly what we want, is a program. So we can say, yeah, your park's going to get done in 3 years or whatever the case is. So, all right, so can we have a motion to move the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Gates. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Great. Next up, we have a resolution that we need a motion to move. Moved by Councillor Carrier, seconded by Councillor Maves. Any discussion on the resolution? All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Next up is the consent agenda. Okay.
You can still vote on it. You can still vote on it. You've got a conflict, but I would move the whole agenda.
Second.
Okay. Move the whole agenda. Moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Iannone. Any discussion of the motion? Councillor Thompson?
Yes, just on the first one, the refreshment vehicle license was discussed by the Fallsview BIA, and a resolution that is being sent to the clerk indicating that for a trial period during the summer, they are going to permit a couple of trial opportunities for ice cream businesses by the properties on their own property, in spite of the fact that they have a restaurant, which is the bylaw is restrictive, and the distance is 200 feet between properties. So we have asked for permission for that to be approved, and have it as a trial period for this summer.
Okay, that's great. So we will call the motion for the consent agenda. All those in favor? Okay, opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. All right, bylaws. We'd ask the clerk. First, we'll ask the clerk if there's any additional bylaws or amendments to the bylaws.
Your Worship, by deferring the OPA number 94, you've eliminated bylaw 2011-89. So the last two bylaws will move up in the order.
Okay. Councillor Pietrangelo, motion to introduce the bylaws, second by Councillor Carrio. All those in favor? Okay, unanimous.
Bylaws 2011-84 to 2011-90 read a first time.
Second and third.
Okay, second and third motion, Councillor Pietrangelo, second by Councillor Carrio. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Bylaws 2011-84 to 2011-90 read a second and third time and passed.
Okay, great. New business. Do you have any new business tonight? Is Councillor Ioannoni, Councillor Thompson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Within the last 4 weeks, there's been 10 C. difficile deaths at the NHS sites. I know I've read the articles about you and MPP Crater criticizing the NHS. While it's 10 people and our sympathies go out to the families of those 10 people, that is 40% of the C. difficile deaths in GNGH. For 4 weeks, the NHS was silent that we had residents passing away from C. difficile, despite numerous calls from the media asking them, has there been any deaths in Niagara Falls? From May 16th to June 23rd, the NHS was silent, and to me that silence is deafening. I have read the comments from you and MPP Crater. I'd like to throw our support of this council behind you, and I'd like to ask that the province appoint a hospital supervisor to take over from the board of the NHS and run the NHS system until somebody has reviewed it and looked into it. I know we've sent that motion before, but we're going in to see Deb Matthews, hopefully again, and we'd really like her to actually do something as opposed to speak to it. Perhaps the election in October will spur her. Either way, I think it was either ignorance or arrogance on part of the NHS to think that silence was okay, and I think it's very interesting as the council meeting was going and the review post articles, I read the comment from Mr. Demizio, and he said while he understands the community's concern and their silence, he's now going to have the NHS take a look at their communications policy and perhaps revamp it. Well, I tell Mr. Demizio perhaps he needs to actually create a communications policy. This isn't the first time we've had to go to the NHS for their lack of communication and their lack of openness and transparency. And throughout the community, sadly, they've said it will take deaths to actually have the province step in and take a look at the NHS, and the fact that they're not open, transparent, or accountable. And it has taken 10 deaths. I don't know how much more message the province needs. Perhaps the message the province needs will be in October, but that may be late for a number of families in Niagara Falls. So I'd like to make the motion that the province appoint an independent supervisor investigator to take over from the NHS immediately.
Okay, so we've got the motion, investigator supervisor, and we've got the second by Councillor Wing. Is there any other comment or discussion from the council? Okay, well...
I thought Wayne had his hand up.
Well, that's next.
Okay. Councillor Gates?
Well, I've had a lot of conversation with our mayor on this issue over the last couple of days. I've actually belonged to a group out of Fort Erie, the Yellow Shirts, who for 2 years have been warning us that the cuts to the closure of Fort Erie, the closure of Port Colborne, the cuts to healthcare right across Niagara are going to come home and affect Niagara Falls. And I think our comments should be a lot stronger, quite frankly. I believe that the NHS not only withheld the information, it's my understanding they were being asked if there was any, and they were continually saying no. I believe they downright lied to certain people, whether it be in the media, whether it be our elected officials, and it seems to be exactly the way they've conducted themselves over the last number of years. This council, prior to me being elected, sent a number of resolutions to the NHS and to, at that time, the Minister of Health. And each time they were ignored. They never got back to you. They never said anything about it. And when you have people dying in your hospital, I mean, it gets you right here. You go in there to get better. I don't know how many of us are going to put our hands up and go to a hospital to die. We're going there to hopefully get better. And it's unfortunate that it's come to this, but I'm certainly hoping through our council and our mayor takes the issue on, because it is absolutely unconstitutional, I guess, to even lie about what's gone on here, and it isn't over a week. This has gone on for a long period of time, and I think we have to take a strong stance about this, and we've got to get our health care, our act together right here in Niagara and take it back. And if that means that we got to do something at election time to fix it, but that's out there. We got to do something right now, so when citizens come to our hospital, they're going there to get better, and they're not going there to live their lives. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gates. Councillor Morocco?
Just quick, on that note of the NHS, and due to the outbreak at our hospital, I'm hoping that there is a posting on all the doors as anyone enters the hospital that it has been an outbreak of C. difficile, and that beware of entering. So if we can actually have the support of council to make sure that a letter from this council goes to the head, if it's Frank Demizio or whoever, to please make sure that our hospital doors, entrances are noticed, because I think there was conversation in the back room that somebody's mother went there and took their mother there, and if they would have known, they would have never taken their mother there, knowing that she could have, or anyone could have got C. difficile. So I would like the council to support sending a letter making sure that there is notices put on the hospital doors.
Okay, Councillor Ioannoni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That notice was not on there last week at this time. I spent quite some time in the hospital last week, and that notice was not on the emerge door, because I quite frankly would have turned around and went the other way. And I think that's very important for everybody. But I also think it's important to give a message to the NHS that their dog and pony show of coming to communities, shaking our hand, telling us they'll be more communicative with us is a load of BS. You and I sat with Sue Matthews, yes. I think it was 1 month ago, where she said, I know you two have been the head of this committee and you guys have been running this kind of anti-NHS stand, but I want to put our hands out and say to Niagara Falls that we will communicate with you. We want an open and transparent relationship. We want to fix the bridges that have been burnt, and we want to get along. This is a really sad way to start. So perhaps getting along will be them leaving and actually having somebody competent run the NHS.
Well, and it's sad that it's come down to this. And as a matter of fact, I read today that their comment was that, well, they did finally put a notification on their website. So we went and looked, and it's at the very bottom of the website, one sentence, easy to miss. And I'm thinking, come on, that is unreasonable to expect someone, my mother, to go on the website and scroll down looking just to make sure there's no superbug outbreak. That's unreasonable. I mean, even the Weather Channel, when you go on their website or you have the application on your smartphone, it's flashing across the screen red when you've got thunderstorm watch or high wind watch or blizzard watch. It flashes across the screen to let everybody know, stay home, avoid the disaster, avoid the danger. In this case here, it's more effort is put in controlling the problem instead of concealing the problem rather than dealing with the problem. And it's dangerous. You're putting lives at risk. It's unreasonable. It's unfair.
Save face. To
save face. I mean, if there's a problem, let's deal with it. But don't say there isn't a problem and let us walk into it blindly. That you're a great comment. We go there to get better. We don't go there to get sick, and certainly not to die. And I was told too that these superbugs, they get on your clothing, and I don't know enough about it, but I was told from one professional that it gets on your clothing. Washing your clothes doesn't get rid of it. There's a special treatment way to get rid of it. And on a healthy person, you could be a carrier not knowing it won't matter, but someone that's sick, it could kill them. So it's really, really unfair. And I think there's some serious issues here, very serious legal implications here. I'm sure we'll hear more. So were there any more comments to this motion? Okay, Councillor Carrier.
The only other comment that I'd like to add, Your Worship, is if you feel that the community has been misled or not told the truth to, I think it would be important for you to call the Minister of Health directly and voice our concerns directly to the Minister of Health yourself. It's great to lay our criticism on the NHS, but ultimately the Minister of Health is our top person. So I think that you should make a call to the Minister of Health and explain your concerns, and that's totally unacceptable for our community to be put at that risk and not be made aware.
And that's a great point. And as a matter of fact, when I was made aware that they had been concealing the severity of the situation. I talked to our MPP, Kim Crater, on Friday night, and he said he was calling the minister the next day. And he's very, very upset with what's gone on. And, the truth's been kept from us. So he has already dealt with the minister.
I think it's different coming from you than coming from someone in his own party.
I agree. And you know what? We'll follow up with a call. We'll follow up with a call tomorrow. And as soon as I have some kind of a response, we'll make the council aware. So you'll know what we know as soon as we know it. Pretty sad. We've got groups there in charge, so we don't have to worry about these things, and yet we have to still worry about them. It's very frustrating. Okay, if there's no other comment, then we'll call the motion. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Councillor Thompson?
Yes, thank you. I've been dealing with an issue which I think has to be examined and reported back to council with respect to a fencing issue where there is a corner lot and the adjoining property, it turns out to be their rear lot that adjoins that property, and that person has the legal right to fence their back of their property with an 8-foot high fence. The neighbor next door, which faces onto the street, could have an 8-foot fence as they're trying to back out into the street. And I've been dealing with a situation where before the fence went up, the parties were notified, the city was notified, and yet the bylaw exists where these people have the legal right to put an 8-foot fence to the back of their property, and there wasn't any give or take to try to offset this. Now this senior couple who lives in this house cannot back out of their driveway. They have to get somebody out on the street to stop the cars to have them back out onto the street. So this happens in rarely, but it happens quite often. I've handed it over to the city staff, and although I don't think we can obviously help the people that already have this situation, they're very upset. The wife has decided not to drive the car out of the driveway anymore, and it puts them in a very dangerous and precarious situation. And because it's a municipal bylaw, I'm wondering whether we have any financial or legal responsibility with insurance or whatever. But what I would like to do is have the staff examine this. I think the clerk has all of the material, and see if we can come back to make sure we offset this in the future so other people aren't caught in the same situation. I don't know what these people are going to do in the long term. They're very distraught and upset about it, but I would make a motion that we have a report back to see if there's some way that we can change our fencing and zoning bylaw to maybe offset this situation.
You first said fencing. I thought you were...
Fencing?
Maybe we can... so we've got a motion for Councillor Thompson for a report to come back on the fencing situation, seconded by Councillor Gates. Is there any discussion from council here before we call the motion? And the clerk, was there any comment on that?
As Councillor Thompson indicates, I'm familiar with the situation, and it's really a bit of an anomaly because unfortunately the people in question who Councillor Thompson refers to are actually in between two corner lots. Probably one of the few areas in the city where you've got corner lot, front-facing lot, corner lot. So in essence, they're almost boxed in, and the people who have built the fences have every right to under our bylaw, but it's one of those anomalies that we maybe didn't foresee, and we always have difficulties vis-a-vis corner lots to begin with when it comes to fencing issues. I know the one possible, and I wouldn't say it's a resolution, but the one thing being offered to the people in question is that they get parking permits to be able to permanently park on the street, which I don't know if that's the ideal issue, but that's, sort of an issue that we've tried to deal. That was a solution the only solution we could think of under the circumstances, balancing everybody's right under these circumstances. But I think we can review the fence bylaw, especially when it pertains to corner lots, take a look at some other municipalities' bylaws as they deal with corner lots as well. Don't know that it's going to solve this situation, but like I said, we're definitely sympathetic to the people that Councillor Thompson's speaking about.
And the gentleman went out riding throughout the city, and he ran into, I think he said 11 different scenarios that were identical, so we could be facing the same thing. So if we have some kind of suggestion or resolution, hopefully won't help him, but might help somebody else.
Okay, we'll call the motion. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous.
Okay. I have been getting calls again. I think myself and Councillor Wing a year or so ago were working on the shark fin situation. They've been working on it in Toronto, and much to my disbelief, they suggested a local bylaw. That was never brought to our attention. I still don't think that's possible to restrict shark fin soup within a municipality. I asked the clerk to check this out, so I would like to have a report back indicating if that is possible, and if not, I know that it was taken very lightly before with the previous administration. I doubt very much our resolution was sent on to the federal authorities, the Member of Parliament federally, and I think it was just brought up here and forgotten. I had tremendous amount of enthusiasm and support right across Canada and elsewhere, emails with respect to this situation. And of course, I don't know whether you're probably all familiar with it, but where they hunt the sharks and they bring them up in the nets, they cut their fins off and throw them back into the water alive. And pretty sick situation that this people that would do this. First of all, we should cut their legs and arms off and throw them back in and give them similar treatment. But I'd like to make a motion that we attempt to get something done about this again.
Okay, moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Wing. We've got the clerk here that will comment. Do you want to talk to him? Okay.
Yeah, through your worship, obviously I'll monitor the Toronto situation. As Councillor Thompson alluded to, it was, the proposal for some sort of bylaw in Toronto, whether it's legal or not, we'll have to see. And I mean, I'll be watching that one closely based on Councillor Thompson's interest in the issue. We did get a response from the feds last year, and I'll try to dig it out. I mean, I don't think it was, definitive changing legislation. It was basically them saying that the protections are already in place. But obviously, as long as they're still legal, it's still illegal food to consume in Canada. But I'll dig out that response from the feds.
I think the minister said he wouldn't need any more shark fin soup, wasn't that it?
Councillor Wing?
Yes, there was some coverage on this recently in the National Post, and if I remember correctly, it seems to me that Toronto did pass the bylaw, and one of the councillors who is of Chinese descent said, even though I've enjoyed this with my family and it was part of the cultural tradition, the time has come to end this practice. And if I remember correctly, it actually did pass, so if Toronto could do it, then why can't we? And I do recall the response, and it seems to me this was one of the ones where I emailed back to the bureaucrat who wrote it and argued with them and didn't really get anywhere, but I know they did hear us before, but obviously little was done. So if we can at all take this into our own hands, I think that would be the best solution, and once again we can lead the way for other municipalities.
Yeah.
Well, just one thing to bear in mind, Toronto is an upper-tier municipality. In fact, they're even different than an upper-tier municipality. Obviously, they look after restaurants and the health department as well, so they may be a bit of a different animal as far as being able to enforce it than the city is. So just bear that in mind. Yeah, maybe the region.
Anyway, let's do what we have to search it.
Okay, so do we have a motion? You read the motion?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, it's unanimous.
I have one other quick thing. This is a recent thing. I've only been dealing with this for about 10 years. As you saw in the paper last week, Mr. Walenda was looking to walk across Niagara Falls. We have had Jay Cochran here with the ultimate objective of walking across the falls before his retirement. He's been up here on 3 separate occasions, and unlike other people who come here and are paid to perform feats, Jay Cochran has an objective throughout his entire career of raising funds for charitable and for children. And he has raised, in his 3 times here, I think about $140,000 for Tender Wishes. And he is constantly calling me to see if he can come back to continue to do that with the ultimate objective of walking across the falls. We had at one point all the approvals, and the final approval came down to the Niagara Parks Commission, which they turned it down, and I don't think things are going to change there. So will this ever happen for Mr. Walenda? I doubt it, but what I want to say, if there is any approvals for this, certainly I would suggest we approve it, subject to Jay Cochran certainly having the opportunity to be involved, and in fact having a conversation with him in the last couple of days. He indicated that he was near the end of his career, and if Mr. Walenda was able to get the approvals through, he would be happy to be on this side of the border, carry his balancing stick over to our friendly country, United States, and pass the balance pole to him to walk across. What a great opportunity it would be to have that take place in our municipality and the number of people it would draw. I saw in the paper that the editorial from Mr. LaRock, who's the editor there now, indicated that we should, the Parks Commission should nix this right away. Not my feeling. The interview of all of the U.S. visitors in the paper all said they'd love to see it happen, and you have to take into consideration Corey's track record. He was against the mixed martial arts, and they sold out 56,000 tickets in a couple of hours, I think. So anyway, I'd like to make a motion that we monitor this situation, and if there's any walking, we become involved and make sure, with all of the involvement that Jay Cochran has had with our city and what he's given to our city, we certainly keep him in mind when we're dealing with this issue.
You know, it's ironic too, if approval was granted for next season, I know it was said in the parks that a one-time event isn't going to help us that much, which I'm not sure I agree with, but maybe if we had every weekend for a month and we had the 2 sides, because next year, as you know, we're celebrating 200 years since the War of 1812. We're celebrating 200 years of peace, 200 years of the world's largest unmilitarized border, and if the two are going and trading flags, what an international thing that would be across the falls, I think. And again, especially the bigger issue that we say is they're not stunters, they're professionals, and you can't compare that to a stunt. This is what they do for a living. You know,
if they weren't doing it here, they'd be doing it someplace else.
They walked across canyons and buildings and all sorts of crazy places. But yes, Councillor Iannone.
I watched Mr. Walenda that morning on the Today Show, and he has a new TV show that is on a satellite or a cable show, and it is his walks in different areas. And he said, you know, before he dies, he wants to conquer Niagara Falls. But that day, what he said was that it was in the U.S. Senate, hopefully to be voted on that day. So when I emailed you and said, I'm watching Mr. Walenda, it was a beautiful view of the U.S. Falls. If he gets permission from the U.S. Senate to stay on the U.S. side, and my geography is terrible, where he showed that he was going to walk from one point to the other point on the U.S. side, does he need the Parks Commission?
No, not on their side he doesn't.
Well, the 2 points he stressed was a U.S. point to a U.S. point. It had nothing to do with Canada. He said the Senate was approving it that day. So you hope our Parks Commission chair takes a look at her U.S. counterparts and sees the open-mindedness there, and perhaps what it'll do for the economy.
And especially, I know that Mr. Cochran, if he does it, he said that he would walk with Wayne on his back. Is that right, Wayne?
He's been on my back for 10 years.
Okay, did we vote on that yet? No, we did.
No, I'm just making a comment.
Just a direction?
And, if it becomes an issue, that we keep him in the back of our mind and support him.
Any other comments on the tightrope walking? No? All those in, okay, adjournment, Councilor Morocco, second by Councilor Ioannoni. All those in favor? All right. Good job, Jeff.